Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Turn-Based Memories. We're back after a short nap. We were taking a nap, that's all that happened. Moving on. We are now doing, as I believe we hinted at, Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Mel, and I will introduce my co-host shortly. And the whole point of this show is that I have played Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, back when it was new. And my co-host is coming off of having just played the game recently as of recording for the first time. And we're going to be comparing our experiences. If you're familiar with the show, we used to do it slightly differently. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through a written review, which we will also post in the video, in the YouTube video. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast version, we have a YouTube channel called Turn-Based Memories. You'll find the links to the reviews on there, and we're going to be basing our commentary off of those full written reviews, which we won't be reading. You'll have to read those for yourself, but we're going to be going over them anyway. So let me just briefly introduce the game before I briefly introduce my co-host. We had Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door. This came out 2004 on the GameCube. It is the third in the loosely connected Mario role-playing game series, which started with Mario RPG, went over to Paper Mario on the N64, and now we're at the 1,000-Year Door. And there have been many spin-offs and continuations of the Paper Mario series. None of them have ever really kind of stuck to what this game did. This is kind of the culmination of what this formula was for the series. You had the Mario and Luigi games. They kind of did their own thing on handhelds. And then the other Paper Mario games definitely went on to do other things entirely with the series. So, talking about the 1,000-Year Door, and I'm talking about it with Zoltan. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for introducing me. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. So I think it's probably not going to be a shocker that both of us kind of walked away enjoying this game quite a lot. Me at the time, and again now during my playthrough again, and you now for the first time, right?
Yep. Yeah, I really liked it, as you'll find out, as everyone will find out.
Yeah, it's definitely within both of our wheelhouses. You know, it's not a dark game. It's definitely got some good music, as you point out later on in your review, and it's turn-based, so that right there obviously is in both of our wheelhouses. And
yep.
Who doesn't like Mario? You know, and we'll get into it in terms of the reviews as to, you know, it's not just Mario. If you're fully unfamiliar, you know, this isn't made by Miyamoto.
That's
this
right.
Isn't, you know, in-house Nintendo. This is made by Intelligent Systems. These are the same people who make Fire Emblem and a few other role-playing games that are very dialogue-heavy. This is still a Japanese company, but they are really... I tried to look it up. I'm sure the info's out there somewhere, but I tried to look up who they worked with or if it was in-house on the localization for this game, because that is the star of the show.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. For this game in particular, we did Paper Mario on our show, the first one, right?
We did, yeah.
Right.
I feel like I just repeated myself in this one because I don't remember everything that happened in there now.
It's just like a lesser version. Like, take all the sliders and all the quality level of this game and just like knock it all down 2 or 3 pegs. It looks a little worse. The gameplay's a little simpler. The dialogue is all a little less clever. The story is even more basic, which isn't the point of these games, but even more. But there's the roots of it are there, and the roots of it were in Mario RPG as well, where that series was also kind of like a pastiche, like a take on Mario. It was kind of poking fun at the idea of Mario. We did Mario RPG on our show as well. I believe that was our first episode.
Yes.
And this game takes that to the next level. It makes fun of everything Mario and Super Mario related and all the characters, and it really does an incredible job. At the time, I was blown away by it. We'll get into it. And I remain, having forgotten most of that dialogue, I remain pretty impressed by just like how actively funny this game is. You know?
I agree. So how should we get into this?
Let's start by I'm just going to run through. So there's a comment I made in your introduction. If anyone is playing along at home, we're going to kind of scroll through each other's reviews here, and I have my notes here. I'm actually going to pass up that comment because we'll get into it later on, and we're going to move into your section about the story. Now, you were much more organized in your review, and you broke everything out into these lovely little sections. So we're going to focus in on the story, and your basic takeaway here is, you know, it's a basic plot. There's a new bad guy that they kind of invented for this game that's not part of Mario and never was again. And, you know, it's kind of all a plot device to make the plot happen, sort of.
Yeah, which is good enough.
Serviceable.
Yeah, which is good enough for a Mario game if you consider that Mario is just, you know, the whole point is just he's got to go save the princess. Now play the game. So yeah.
So and you know, the twist, of course, here is it's not Bowser, which is the case in the first Paper Mario, and not the first Mario RPG. It was famously not Bowser in Mario RPG. It was like he joined your party. And I remember that being a big deal. It's like, oh my God, you're playing with Bowser on the Super Nintendo. That's how old that was. Has to be the first time they made Bowser an ally. So maybe outside of Mario Kart, like I don't know what that counts.
We don't need to care about that,
Right. But yeah, they do something similar here. And Bowser isn't on your team, but you do play as Bowser in these really interesting very short, side-scrolling Mario-ish 2D platforming levels, which are all like kind of hilarious in their own way.
They are, I don't know what to say about them. I mean, I did enjoy them enough, but like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, it's like a palate cleanser, right? Is that what this is? A palate cleanser? Yes. Yeah,
I agree. I think the chapter format the game adopts, which I think is a carryover from the original Paper Mario, the chapter format has a flow where you play the majority of the game as Mario and his friends. And then whenever you collect one of the 7 crystal stars, you transition over to this little B plot with Peach.
Right.
And she's stuck where you find out she's up on the moon.
Yep.
And she's trying to figure out what's going on, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with her. And there's maybe a brief minigame or just some dialogue that you do as her. And again, this happened in Paper Mario as well, where you would transition, just not in as structured a format, I don't think, where you would transition over to Peach, and there was like a cake baking mini game that you had to do, and I forget what other little things that you had to do with her in the castle. Now she's trapped again. You get to play as her again, just in like a sort of story capacity. But after you're done with those segments, you then play briefly as Bowser in a platforming section of
in
all
like
things.
A Mario Brothers 1 stage, kinda. It's interesting.
They're all takes on actual Mario levels, I think, but they're all ridiculous because Bowser is ridiculous. He's huge. He's just stomping and busting his way through everything.
Yeah.
I like how they replaced the mushrooms with like big hunks of meat for some reason.
I don't know if I realized that.
Yeah, you can get a hunk of meat, and that makes him grow. And you get another one, he gets even bigger.
Yeah,
he gets like off the screen. That's how big he gets.
Yeah, and then if you just walk forward when he's that big, just everything that touches him just explodes.
Everything breaks, and you just like don't have any. It's no challenge, and I think they're really short, and I think that's for the best because what is there is very basic. Like it's not really the game per se.
Yeah, I don't think that we want to be doing a Super Mario Brothers 1 swimming level, like a really intense challenging Super Mario Brothers 1 swimming level in between each one. I mean, you can't save before that either, so.
Correct, but you do have infinite lives.
That's true. Yeah.
Up to you at the beginning where there's a little Bowser. It's a whole intro screen with a little Bowser and an infinite symbol.
Bowser times infinity, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that is basically just an interactive cutscene, and that's part of, I guess, the C plot at that point, where Bowser is always kind of comedically one step behind Mario as he's running around collecting crystal stars, and then you play as Bowser in the area you were before.
Right.
And he's
just
behind.
Too late. Where's the star? And I can't believe it. And then that's it every time.
And then he fails in hilarious fashion every time, and it's very well done. He's written really well, I think, for just like a total doofus who thinks he's hot shit, but kind of knows he's not.
Yeah. So, what is your opinion of these interlude scenes, particularly the Bowser ones? Like, you think it's better with them or without them? I know story-wise, in the end, there's like there's a payoff at the end, for showing him being one step behind Mario all this time, and I'm like, so what is it going to do at the end? Like, what's going to happen? And then finally, it happened. I was like, well, thank God they used that. But I mean, I don't know. Overall, because my opinion is that I didn't really care to go through all those, even though I didn't dislike them in particular. My favorite, I want to just get to the next main dungeon is my feeling all the time.
Right.
So yeah.
I guess the value is the dialogue. I think the most value I think you can extract out of this game is the dialogue, and I guess that kind of leads into the next point. For your entire section that you wrote in your review, I just had one note, and I just said, agreed, at the end. Because, you kind of pointed out the story is kind of basic, but whatever, it's a story anyone can enjoy.
Yeah.
You point out that the dialogue is incredibly well written, and I say in my review that despite this game having no voice acting, not even voice clips at the beginning, where sometimes, like in Zelda, a character might go,
hey, listen. Yeah.
Or like they'll make a noise that kind of indicates what they might sound like, or they might say one or two words, and that kind of gives you the template of how to voice them in your head, sort of.
Right.
They don't do that at all, except for Mario very occasionally going, ha, like that's it.
When he jumps, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes he'll go, aha, like he'll raise his hand or something.
Right, yeah.
But that's it. No one has any other vocalization whatsoever, but you can still hear a lot of these characters based on the way they look, but also on the way they're written. They have these mannerisms of their dialogue or these habits of speech or whatever that you can tell the Blubba guy has like a accent, like a southern sort of accent type of thing.
You can tell. Yeah.
Like the word choices he's using.
Yeah. Like there's that pirate ship, that ship captain guy who's like a narcissist, and it's like he has a French accent or something. He's like, he says,
yes, the Flavio guy or whatever. Flavio.
Yeah. He says zit instead of it or whatever.
Yeah. And they just do more subtle instances of that too. I think the pirate himself has like a Spanish accent.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
And it's just kind of picked up by the certain word choices he uses. It's kind of like a weird accented way of forming words. But Bobbery is an English guy, is an English accent. And I can hear all of them in my head very clearly. It's written really well. But beyond that, though, the actual things they're saying, I think are, funny
really
often.
Funny. Yeah, at the very least, clever. Yeah.
Yeah, clever. I think one of my favorite examples of it, you can tell whenever this team who wrote this was given, like, on many occasions, just like, go nuts. Like, make this person say whatever you think is funny.
Right.
Like, don't worry about the original script. The point of this scene is to have these characters say something funny. And I think it's no clearer in any other part of the game than when you're in the Twilight Town and you have to hide and listen to those crows.
Oh yeah,
everything they say is insane.
Right. Like yeah, like so like the joke in this case is that you're listening to crows in a tree talk, but they're talking about like high-speed internet and stuff like that.
Yeah. And they're talking about it in ways that, like, you know, tech nerds might talk about it. You got those real fat pipes, bro. Like, what the fuck is going on? And there's another pair where they're talking about their son's SAT scores. And
right.
Like, what is happening? It's so amazing. It's so off the wall. Another one's like having like a real serious conversation about environmentalism.
Oh, they were, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like a straightforward, like, they're having a discussion about global warming. It's like, what is going on in this game? It's really you could tell they were having a lot of fun putting this game together, and you made a couple indications about like the name change of Rockhawk was Goldhawk.
Yeah, Japanese. I just happened to come across that information that he's called Goldhawk in Japanese.
Okay.
And they switched him up to Rockhawk, which is like, when you think about it, well, that like I didn't go see what he says in Japanese.
Okay.
Right? Like, what is he saying every time in the English version? He's like, rock, bring the rock, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's not saying rock. Or maybe he is, but he probably isn't.
Probably not. They probably went with a different sort of gimmick for his character. I'd be curious to know, like, how different. It's got to be very different, like, overall.
Right. Yeah, I think overall, and particularly Rockhawk, yeah.
And I wonder if the English version are both versions of the game equally funny, or did they funny up the English version?
That's a good question too. I'd have to go watch like some Japanese scenes. I should go ahead and watch like the Coliseum part or something in Japanese and see if I can, get some good information out of that. See the difference. Yeah. So I had a note about what you said about the script. You said that the humor was self-deprecating, and I don't think I really noticed that in any way that it being self-deprecating.
Like with Bowser in particular, and just kind of poking fun at sort of the formula of having to save Peach again, and Luigi being kind of like a dope who's got all of these sort of like, because there's that whole subplot that you can listen to with Luigi, who's going on basically the same type of adventure you're going on.
Right.
But with people who are not yours, like different like partners that he shows up with, and it's like the same friggin' story almost.
Yeah.
I see
but it's all
kind of played like against him, like he's doing all these sort of other things.
So they're poking fun at just their own series tropes, is what you mean?
Yeah, they're poking fun at the game itself. I think they poke a little bit of fun at like some of the bomb-ombs, who are all Russian, or some of them are for some reason.
I noticed that too. Yeah. I like how they just explode, but then they're completely intact, and they'll explode again later at any time.
Yeah, apparently that's how that works. Yeah, it's not afraid to sort of riff on its own stuff. Was all I meant there. But
so I think this might be a good time to ask you one of the questions I have here. Story-wise or setting-wise, not dungeon exploring-wise, what was your favorite chapter or favorite scene or whatever, favorite area? I think for me, story-wise, my favorite one was it's a toss-up between the riding the train scene and the whole Coliseum one. I think Coliseum is my favorite in all aspects, gameplay and everything. It's probably my favorite one, chapter of all. Which is a bummer when it comes in chapter 3. That means nothing is as good as chapter 3 for me. But I don't know. I really enjoyed the train scene as well. I really loved how you heard that there was a noise. You're told there's a noise in the other room. But every time I go in there and check, there's nobody in there. What the hell is going on? And so you're supposed to think to go in there and have Vivian take you down, hide in the shadows. And when, which means you sink into the floor and you're not visible. And then when you're not invisible, then the ghost appears, and then you can come back out and talk to them. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and then you satisfy the ghost's earthly needs, and he ascends into heaven, but then he just decides not to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I decided being here is actually way better, so I'll just stay here. He said
exactly.
he likes the train.
One of those are the two like kind of different chapters, right? Because they both have these sort of gimmicks to them. Where in one you're climbing the ranks of a wrestling or tournament fighting bracket, and the other one you're on a train solving like an Agatha Christie mystery, and those are definitely the two standouts. Those are probably going to be most people's. I guess the train one is fun because it does have a more traditional dungeon segment to it. It's short, but it's there.
Oh yeah, where you stop? You mean where the train stops? Yeah.
So you do get that.
So I was hoping they would do a thing that most RPGs do not do, but Chrono Trigger did do. Because you notice I never complain about any game, just like about JRPGs just being too repetitive for the most part. Like FF12 is a good example, right? All you do is next huge ass dungeon. Okay, next huge ass dungeon. Okay, next even longer than the previous dungeon. Like that's basically all you do when you're not watching cutscenes, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I never complain about that, but a lot of people do consider that just way too repetitive, and they find that a flaw.
That's weird because I feel like that's why you're there.
To just do the battles. Yeah. I mean, that's the gameplay.
Battle system and watch the cutscenes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm there for.
Yeah. So in the case Chrono Trigger, though, they do this thing where they actually, I didn't notice it upon playing it the millions of times myself, but I read the book called The Reverse Design Chrono Trigger, something like that. This guy who I think he's actually making a game himself now, but he has this whole series called Reverse Design where he just like, I guess he's like not reverse engineering because he's not making anything, but like he's breaking it down. I guess that's the reason for the name, where he just like breaks down like what exactly every little thing programming wise and game design wise means in these games. And so, he made this graph where he shows like how much battles are in every quest. The first quest is you go to back in time to go save Princess Nadia. What's her name? What's Princess Nadia's name in the game? Marl. To go save Marl and bring her back. And then there's the escape from the jail dungeon. And so like he set them all out into like missions, and then he like put like the amount of he made this graph that shows like the number of NPCs per each mission, the amount of battling per mission. And he made a couple graphs like that, and like he showed that like when you get to the Kingdom of Zeal, you've already been through 2 super long ass dungeons back to back, and it's the only time you've ever had 2 dungeons back to back. And he's making the point that they do this on purpose, where they have this long ass story section after 2 long ass dungeons, because they actually think about whatever fatigue, dungeon fatigue or story fatigue or whatever. And I kind of thought that this game was gonna. Well, I do feel like this game does it to a point, like with the format, like you said, with the, there's an interlude with the princess scene, and then there's the Bowser scene, and then you go back to town, and you have to find the next way to get to the next dungeon, which is the part that I didn't really care for. And then finally you arrive at the next area, and then you have to see what the problem is, and then they'll tell you, go to such and such dungeon to solve our problems, and then you finally enter the dungeon.
Right.
And so they have done they created a format that I guess is supposed to combat fatigue to some degree. I kind of wish they took it a little bit further though, because like I remember finishing the Coliseum area, which is like my favorite area, but it's all battles, right? Literally 20 battles if you don't ever lose, right?
Right.
And that was a really long chapter because of that. And then the next place you go is the Twilight Town, and you're just supposed to go. They tell you, hey, we're getting turned into pigs. Go see who's turning us into pigs. I think he's in the something or other chapel. I can't remember the name now.
The creepy steeple.
The creepy steeple. Nice name. And I went in there and I found the dude pretty quickly, and I bonked his ass, and he was dead. And I was like, well, that was a job well done. That was easy. I got the crystal star and everything, ready to go home. And then you go back. And it's like, dude, this is like just like the first 1/3 of it. Now you have to figure out my name. And I'm like, I'm sure it's like a quick thing within this town that I have to find. And it turned out to be a long ass mission for me in the
Mm-hmm.
end. So I kind of hoped that there would actually be a few chapters like that where there isn't that much. And I was also hoping that I could just enjoy the mystery that's happening on the train. And then we just arrived at the place and I get the star. But we had to stop at that one dungeon in the middle, right?
Yeah, the pacing, that is a really good question or observation, because whenever I am playing a game, I will occasionally think, how did they decide how many rooms this dungeon is going to have?
Oh, yeah.
How do they where are they, like, obviously they have what they have, it is what it is, but how do they arrive at this number?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. When they're designing it, they should have some reason that they want to make it this big or this small, right?
Yeah, like I'm sure during all design process there's give and take and cuts and additions. Like, how they just run out of time? Is that purely what it is, or was there some sort of, we want every dungeon to take X amount of time? Is there like a goal there? And like, I'm sure there's any number of ways you could do it as a designer, but my mind will always occasionally drift to that question of like, what made them put 3 enemies here instead of one?
Just one, yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. I had that feeling, that exact same feeling when I was in the final. Was it the final dungeon? Yeah. Because unlike the previous dungeon, what was the previous dungeon? The moon? Okay, yeah, the moon was the previous dungeon.
Based on the moon, yeah.
Okay, well, that one wasn't that bad either. But
that wasn't much of a dungeon, though. There were a couple fights in the hallways. It was mostly puzzles.
Yeah, it was mostly puzzles. And then I accidentally left the whole base, and when I came back, all the hallway battles respawned.
Oh, yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah, but, yeah, so that one was kind of to a degree, maze-like, in that you have to explore all the rooms and see what's in every one, and then you know where to go after that. But then the inside the 1,000-Year Door dungeon, it was just a straight walk from left to right for a really long time. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want. I want the final dungeon after doing the X-Knot dungeon, even though it wasn't that bad, in terms of complexity. It wasn't that bad or that huge. I would like to just have a gauntlet and then beat the game now, is what I thought. And then it kept going straight forward. And, you fight Gloomtail.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, good. Now I'm ready for the final boss. But then you have to go back and climb this tower and get all these 7 or 8 keys, which I didn't hate. But I was like, okay, now I have to do this. Okay, fine.
It's a puzzle dungeon. I kind of, when I was in the middle of it, because I hadn't remembered any of the solutions, they're not hard, but 1 or 2 of them were like, what the fuck do I do? Yeah. And I just, in that moment, I was kind of like sitting there going, I don't really like it too much when a role-playing game that is otherwise not very puzzly becomes a puzzle game
all of a
in
sudden.
The last dungeon.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Where is this coming? It's a habit that games in that era tend to commit. I think the biggest example that always comes to mind is Final Fantasy X, the last dungeon there.
What was the last dungeon? Sin. Maze. Yeah, Sin, right? Yeah.
It's like a maze gauntlet of annoying bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Sorry, I went into like game design, world design stuff in there. But the thing.
Well, I think that's kind of part of it. I mean, maybe that's a little bit more graphics and design, but it kind of blends into the story as well. With what are these characters? How are they styled? And then kind of like, how is the world laid out and styled? So with the chapters,
yeah, we were talking about the story just now.
Like the story progression is broken up into these segments, and when you get to these dungeons, you were saying that there's these long interstitials between those dungeons, and I guess they kind of did that because they were focusing on the story in this. I think they definitely knew what the focus of this game was about, because the combat, which I guess we can move into this point, unless you got more.
Well, I think another thing we should talk about before going in there then is talk about how before the combat, we should talk about the puzzle solving thing, because this game doesn't do what you just said, which is where suddenly it becomes puzzly. It's actually puzzly throughout.
It is.
And every time,
more puzzle at the end, though.
I'm sorry?
It got a little more puzzly at the end.
I suppose so. Yeah, there was that tower with the 8 individual puzzles that are all kind of interlinked. Like you have to go do another room first sometimes. And that's like some Alundra shit right there.
Yeah, and they force you to, you're constantly switching all of your partners out.
Right. To use them
all their abilities and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But it had puzzles throughout. And one of the main things about this one is that every time you finish the chapter and beat the boss and get the star, then you got to come back to Rogueport every time. And, and you have to go use whatever new stuff you got there to find a new area within Rogueport and within that little underground area beneath Rogueport. Like you got Bobbery to join you, and you got the crystal star from the island. Okay, now come back and look for all the places that have little cracks in the wall, so you can use him to bomb them. And it's not, a lot of them are not optional. Like you have to go do it to get to the next one too.
Right.
So, I mean, what is the comment I want to make about this? I guess, what do you think about it? It's kind of Metroidvania-ish. Is what I wrote here.
In a way.
Because you can see them all before you can access them,
Correct. And you get power-ups that actively, it's not just the partners who join you. You also get, like, better boots and better hammers that let you break things down or jump up higher and get to other areas. So definitely it has some of that involved.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
You're saying that some of this was getting... It was kind of breaking up the parts where you get to the dungeons too much.
Well, I mean, I can't objectively say it's too much, but yeah, I personally didn't want to keep going back there, and because it's kind of a big, complex area, and I just wasn't in the mood to remember where all these little cracks and all these little peeling off pieces of paper were. You got the new character and the new ability. Now I got to remember, where did I see a big gray block? Where did I see a pipe way up in the height that I have to jump up to?
And it's not like there's a map system in this game, so you can't really bust open a Metroidvania map and look at where you haven't been.
The positive is that it's by the time you reach the end of the game, though, you do basically remember where everything is. Because it's not that huge, luckily.
It's not that big. Yeah. Initially, it can be a little bit...
It's overwhelming at first, though, right?
Yeah. And even having come back into it, having played it, I think I beat this game prior to today, or not today, this session playthrough. Maybe I beat it 3 times prior.
Okay.
Over the course of however many years. Games have been out for 20 years, believe it or not. But it's so obviously that means I'm a little familiar, but it's been longest than it's ever been since I've gone back to this game, and it definitely at first was like, I don't remember, where do I go to get the I couldn't remember where to get the Ultra Hammer from, and it's staring you right in the face. But
was
I couldn't
it in that
remember.
Giant treasure chest?
It's in the giant chest that you see when you first start the goddamn game.
Right.
It's supposed to be taunting you the whole game, and I totally forgot it was there.
Yeah, the one that I was like, what do I do? Where do I go? And it was the first time that I ever had to go talk to that fortune teller guy to ask him what to do. Was you're supposed to push the R button to turn what do you want to say? Like you're facing sideways. Let's just say turning sideways. And then you can go up between these 2 houses, and that just did not occur to me. And I don't think the only clue you have is that you have to notice that there's that little space between the 2 houses, and then you have to realize, oh, that's right, I can turn sideways now.
That's something I did right away because I remembered it. I don't know how I figured it out. I guess I just I don't remember using the advice guide, and I don't think I ever used a guide when I played the game, but this was many years ago, so maybe I did. I have no idea. But I remembered that. I remember having to go between those houses.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
Yeah, I was wandering around after chapter 1 or 2 or whatever it was forever. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's it. There's that one guy. I'll talk to him. Then he told me, in grave detail, you need to turn sideways and go between these 2 houses on the east side of Rogueport. I'm like, what? okay. And then I went over and looked over there, like, right here? Is this where he means? Holy crap, I was not about to think to do that.
Interesting. So, in this playthrough, again, the part that I totally blanked on was the General White, like, hunt.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
said, oh, he feels sleepy. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I looked in the inn where the guy said he would be, or where the guy was standing next to,
Yeah.
and he wasn't there. I looked
Right.
at in Petalburg where I thought he lived. I couldn't remember he didn't live there.
No, that's
I was
him.
like,
He's in Petalburg, right?
he's originally in Petalburg, but that's not where he lives.
Oh, you have to go there though, to get the hint or something, right?
Originally, you had to talk to the mayor, the old mayor turtle guy.
Yeah, and then he'll say, "Yeah, he left somewhere."
Yeah, and they all say that basically until you get to Twilight Town, and then they say, "Well, he left. He thought he looked sleepy," and that's
And
the
then
only hint you get.
and
then
then
you have
where
to go.
was he?
Then you have to go back to
Back.
Far Outpost,
Hmm.
which is where he lives. But I didn't actually make that connection. I thought he lived in
Right.
Petalburg.
Me too. I thought he lived at that house that he was standing in front of the whole time.
Yeah, me too. So I was like, he's not here. He's not in the inn the guy's next to. Where the hell is he supposed to go? So I looked it up online, like, oh shit, that's right. He's in this stupid. That's where he lives. That's his house.
So how about that quest? Like, did they really need to make us go to every island again? Every done?
I think they did that because they wanted that to be your. They wanted to make sure you knew you could go back there using the warp pipes.
Even way back this late in the game, they want to give you that hint. Like it's the end of the game.
I never had a reason to do it, and I guess they were making sure you knew.
I mean, if you do any of the trouble quests, the side quests that are called trouble in this game,
Yeah,
they send you to the previous places.
they
Like
do.
like the first one that I did was like, I just came back from Hooktail Castle, and then the first trouble I was like, dude, there's this guy. I'm in Hooktail Castle. Can you find me? And it's like, okay, I gotta go back there now. I just came back from there.
Right. Yeah, it's a big slog to do those. There are only a handful. I don't know if this is going into the exploration section, but there are only a handful of those trouble missions that are really worth doing. And some of them do give you some interesting items, but by far the most interesting one.
I know what it is.
You do?
I think
You
I
know what
looked
it
it up.
gives you?
They give you a
It gives
character,
you-
right?
Yeah, they do.
They give you that thief girl, mouse.
They
Thief
give
mouse
you
girl.
Miss Mouse,
Mouse.
the thief mouse.
So does she? If you get her, does she? Do you have access to all the badges she got up till that point?
No,
Ah.
but she's because I guess you have to buy them from her shop, right? That's why
Oh, she's
got
gonna
all
open a
those.
shop. Okay, that's cool. That's fine.
Well, no, she works with the badge shop in town. I think they're connected.
Okay, but
That
you
was- I
can't
think
get her
that's
shop
good.
unless you recruit her, right?
No, you can always go to that shop and buy badges there. It's
Can
at the
you?
top. Did you not know where it was?
I'm sorry. Which shop do you mean? The one in the
It's
in
in
Roadport?
Roadport on the second floor by the inn.
Oh, was that her shop?
I think that's supposed to be hers. She's supplying them with badges, I think is the idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I got up there. Yeah, I went in there.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think that's the idea. But she's okay. She's very optional. She doesn't, obviously, she can't have a power that you really need because you can not get her.
Right.
All she does is find hidden items, which
That's cool.
It's cool, but I guess we'll talk about it in the gameplay section more. But
Okay.
I didn't really use items.
I'm sorry. You really use items? You say?
I said I didn't really use.
I used a bunch, a handful.
Here and there.
Okay.
So
So should we go into what's next? You tell me.
Well, I guess let's briefly talk about, because I didn't have any notes on your arts and graphics section. I mean, it is what it is. It's the paper motif, right?
It looks cool, I think.
It looks cool. It's used to clever effect gameplay-wise with the turning sideways and the rolling up into a ball, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. It's, to your point, it's kind of a thing they've done before and since, where they kind of make their properties into these like sort of arts and crafts things.
Yeah, like they made a crayon or a yarn game with Yoshi, right?
They made a Yarn Yoshi. It's not their property, but there was also a Yarn Kirby.
Also
basically a Nintendo game, basically.
And Yoshi's Island, which is considered Super Mario World 2.
Right.
On the Super Nintendo had a crayon aesthetic, didn't it?
Right. It was all hand drawn looking, very crayon drawn in look.
Yeah. So that's cool. I like that game.
They tend to like to play that game for some reason with the look of their stuff. And in this case, instead of it just being a look, I don't recall. In the first Paper Mario, did they ever take advantage of the fact that it was paper, or was that just a look?
I can't remember now.
I can't either, and it's sad because I feel like we should know this, but I don't think they did any of that turn sideways, roll up into a ball type stuff in Paper Mario. I think they just used it purely as an aesthetic choice.
Huh. Yeah, to make it fun in a way, yeah.
To make it fun and different. But yeah, they definitely took advantage of it here. And it's also clever because I'm sure, you mentioned they throw a whole bunch of characters on screen at once.
Right.
It wouldn't be possible to do that if they were all 3D polygons.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I guess that was what enabled them to do it, huh? Was the 2D paper aspect?
Yeah, it's I actually, when I was done playing the game on the emulator, on the Dolphin emulator, there's a option on the emulator itself to turn on the free camera so you can move the camera wherever you want.
What? That's a thing?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I will occasionally do that. And the amount of tricks they pull with the perspective in this game is actually really cool. The dialogue box, whenever anyone's talking, with all the words on it, is actually really far away in the background. A physical, actual object that pops in, and you can move the camera over there, and it's just white. It's like a big white board that shows up behind the characters, not above them.
But wait a minute, it's text boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they appear in front of everything every time they pop up?
They do. So there's a programming trick where
it's way in the back, but it's on top?
In front. Yeah, it's on the top layer all the time.
That's crazy.
Even though it's way in the back, and it's like kind of clipping through buildings whenever it shows up, and it's like kind of at a slight angle to be at the right perspective, because you can't move the camera normally in the game at all. It's always like
it's
moving
automatic.
on its own.
Yeah.
It's automatic. And so they have full control over how they are angling things. So they angle that text box. It's just kind of very funny that it's a giant box that shows up way in the distance.
That is genius. I don't know. I want to say that's genius, but I don't really understand why it's genius, to be honest. Because
it's clever.
Is it better? It's interesting for sure. I wonder why though. That's better than just having a normal, JPEG
like
of
a menu or something pop in. I don't know what the programming logic behind that is.
That's
Probably,
cool though.
It is cool. I like those kinds of little behind the scenes things where the character models do have backs to them. I don't know that you're always given the opportunity to see it. Like, you can see Mario's back. I think there is occasions.
The camera there.
Yeah, but I think there are occasions where he performs animation where you see it, because normally you turn left and right and you're just seeing a mirror copy of him.
Yeah, but if you
forward.
Yeah, but if you hold up and press the hammer button,
you hold up in a way you're right. He does.
You can kind of see his back as he hammers.
But there are other characters that can also turn around that I don't know necessarily always do, or they don't frequently do. So I found that interesting. But the amount of off-screen elements that are kind of used and hovering around in the background, I just thought that was fun. And it probably gave them a lot of creative license, because it's all very lightweight. It's all 2D flat stuff.
Yeah.
The environments are very simple. When they are polygonal, they're not very expensive, so to speak, in programming terms.
Yeah.
But I guess the one thing I'll mention here is, in the middle of town in Rogueport, did you think it was weird that they had a giant noose hanging in the middle of town?
I did. I was like, geez, what is this? Why is there Why is this here?
They never address it.
They never do they? Yeah.
No. I mean, other than the fact that Rogueport's supposed to be like a dangerous town.
Right.
But it's like, fuck, how dangerous is this place? There's a noose hanging, there's like a gallows in the middle of town. And it's front and center. It's not like off to the side somewhere. You see it constantly.
There must have been like a scene they were gonna make with that later or something. They just didn't get
I
around to
really
it.
wonder, or they cut it because, like, Jesus, like, what would you do?
But they didn't cut the gallows themselves.
Yeah, they didn't remove the noose.
Right? Yeah. So question.
I was very surprised it was in there.
Yeah. So a question about when you use the free camera. Do you know if the images are in fact actually 2D? Like when you completely on the side of them, they completely disappear? Or do they have, like, for example, 1 pixel of width or something?
They may have. I know when it comes to 3D engines and software, that it's actually more difficult to make a purely 2D object inside of those sort of graphical engines. It's easier to flatten a 3D object, so that there's zero width to it. I think Shovel Knight is actually technically a 3D game, but it's just all 2D sprite, like, shown.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's what's going on here, but when I moved the camera to the side, everything was, the 2D things were 2D and the 3D things were 3D. So
they completely disappeared?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's hard to get them at that right angle, but yeah. Yeah, interesting look.
Yeah, okay.
Beyond that, I don't think there's a lot to comment on the surface of it itself.
Yeah, there's not much to say about the paper aesthetic other than they did a good job with it.
They sure did. So I guess we'll go on to your next section here is exploration. So we already talked a bit about moving between the world design and the backtracking that you need to do, sort of Metroidvania-ish.
Yeah.
One of my comments here we kind of already addressed. Did you feel like the backtracking was too much? You said you never consulted a guide. You only used the in-game hint a few times.
Yeah.
And then I asked here, how many times did you get stuck? So it was just the one time there, or did you get stuck any other time?
3 or 4 times. 3 or 4. I think I used them 4 times. Yeah.
All right.
And there's a couple things I still have like a complete question mark to me still. But yeah, when we came back and you had to walk between the 2 houses was the first time. I did all kinds of other things before I finally got to that point. I can't remember what all the other ones were, but they're just like, so now where do I go kind of moments.
Right. I had that too. I definitely had that.
Yeah. And, like they say you need to go over here and use this pipe to go to the next area. And it's like, I know I'm supposed to do that, but I don't know where that pipe is. And I didn't feel like just searching around randomly in the underground area. So then I just went to the guy immediately.
Yeah, there are many occasions where you'll go to Professor What's-His-Face, and then he'll be like, oh gosh, Mario, it looks like you gotta do the thing. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, great.
Some help you are.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta go talk to this guy. I have no idea where he is. Bye.
Right.
Like, okay.
Also, another one that it took me kind of a while, an embarrassing long time. This is like really bad. When you finally get the ability to, this is in the train, where the train stops in that little dungeon, you get the ability to scrunch yourself down and then spring up really, really high to jump.
Yeah.
And you can grab onto pipes and stuff above you, right? And then move along them and get to new areas doing that. And you get to a room where there's the key. You can like see it.
Oh, I had the same problem.
Right? And I'm like, okay, I have to spring jump up to the pipe and then like from the pipe jump over onto the little platform with the thing. But you can't jump from up there. You can only drop straight down from wherever you go. So it took me a pretty while, and I picked up my phone like I'm about to consult the internet, and then I thought about, oh, wait a minute, what if I just hit it from below? And that was what I had to do.
I don't think they ever told you could do that. Is the problem?
I think I thought, did they not? I thought they did, to be honest.
Did they? Because I totally don't. Maybe I buttoned through it, but I.
So my daughter was playing, and she buttoned through it, and I think it said it, yo.
Okay. They probably did. I think we both somehow
Miss
we
it.
both
Yeah.
skipped through the tutorial that we should have paid attention to. But yeah, you can bonk stuff
From
from
below.
underneath, and then it'll pop it down or hit really high
And that's what you're supposed to do to get
boxes.
the hammer inside of the chest, the giant
Right.
chest at
And that's
Port.
probably why I didn't remember because I forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah. So that one was one of my little bit longer puzzles.
Yeah,
um,
I got stuck in that exact same spot this time too.
yeah, because they make a point that because it's kind of a special characteristic of the jump, an idiosyncrasy of the jump that you can't move forward or backwards at all. You can only go straight up. So at first I'm
Right.
like, what am I supposed to do with this? But then they're like, you got to grab onto pipes, and then you can go forward after that. Okay, that's kind of
Yeah, the
strange.
pipes is kind of weird. I think the thing that threw me was the pipe is right next to the thing, and it's like, oh, well, I just learned how to interact with these pipes. I guess that's what I have to do, right?
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I think that's my point as well. I think
Yeah, I think
that's what
if
happened to
that
me.
pipe wasn't there, it
But
would have been clearer.
right. But if there's no pipe, you can't. Oh, right. Yeah. No.
Well, then just get rid of it, like build the room differently
Build the
so
room
the
a little bit
pipe doesn't
differently.
need to
Yeah.
be there. It was right there. I was like, oh, pipes. Yes, this is the new thing. I got to do the new thing.
Right.
And then I got to do the other new thing.
So
It's
we
so
allowed
weird.
ourselves to be programmed by the game a little bit there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But
Uh,
overall, I enjoyed all of the little puzzle solving stuff throughout the game.
yeah. You mentioned here that you didn't really do too many of the side quests. I did not either on this run through for the reasons that you kind of expressed. The rewards are kind of poor. I mean, you might get some money, but I was not hurting for money in this game toward the end.
So there's this dude on the very front of Rogueport, like where the boats
Right.
are, the actual port, and
Yep.
he's like a big mouse dude, and he's
Hmm.
standing there next to the boat icon thing where you can turn into a boat eventually.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm starting up a business. Do you want to
Yeah.
donate some money to me?" And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, this is definitely going to pay us off somehow in the end. And I gave him 100 coins, and then I saw him later, and he was still there, and he's still accepting donations. So I gave him another 100, and then later he was gone, and I never saw that like anything from about him or his
Oh,
shop
well.
or anything or my money ever again. What was supposed to happen with that? I lost 200 coins there.
I forget what the exact trigger is, but he is supposed to go off on these adventures with your venture capital, basically, and then start up, I think, like an oil mining company
Whoa.
in the um, dry deserts, which is an area from the first Paper Mario game.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think he actually mentions running into Colorado, who is the Koopa that you play with in that game,
Oh,
who you found in that area. Like he has all these little stories that he comes back. I don't know what the triggers are anymore for them, but
okay.
he does eventually say, "Oh, my business has been so successful. I'm going to pay you back plus whatever."
Plus double or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like you definitely get your money back, but I don't remember what the triggers are to make that work.
It was probably one of the side quest troubles that you had to solve.
Could have been. There are quite a lot of them. Were you doing the tattle option, like to get the info on the enemies?
In the beginning, I was, but around the 1/3 to halfway point, I didn't really need it so much.
No? Did you have the enemy HP badge?
Yes, I did. So that was one of the
So
main
that's
reasons I
why.
didn't.
Yeah.
I also had some other amazing badges, like an amazing combination that I was like, I don't think I need any other badges. And so
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons I stopped bothering, didn't really bother to do side quests.
Yeah. I think that was the one thing that I kind of made sure to do was get the fill in the tattle logs, which is generous in this game because if you forget to do it for like a one-time only boss, you can still get that log. You
It's
have to
in the
go.
trash can
It's in
in
the
the
trash
house.
can. Yeah.
I noticed that too. I
I
was like,
thought
oh,
that
that's
was
cool.
that's nice. They're very generous about that, I guess.
Mm,
But yeah, I didn't wear that badge, so in order to get their HP values, I had to tattle on them every time. Well, not every time, but at least once.
right.
You said you did half of the Pit of 100 trials.
Yeah, and then I got scared because there's no freaking save point at all. And I have a pretty dangerous badge set up, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're
Yeah.
relying on the low HP to do
Yep.
crazy damage? Okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So, the pit I did early on as much as I could, and then I bailed out of it. It is a commitment. It's kind of a same. They do this in Zelda a couple times, the same scenario where you've got you
Go
have
through a
this
bunch of rooms of
long
combat.
bunch of rooms. Every 5 or 10 rooms, you have the option to bail out or keep going another 5 or 10 rooms, but you have to go all the way before you can bail out again.
They couldn't put a save point in stage 50 at least.
Yeah, right. And or like a shortcut to go back there or some shit. No, they want you to do
Right.
the whole thing,
Yeah.
and it's a bit of a bummer because it's only exciting and interesting to do it when it's really hard to do it.
At the
But
end,
by the
right?
time,
Yeah.
well, earlier on, like maybe
All right.
midway or
Exactly. Yeah.
you know,
It's more exciting to do it early. Okay, yeah, but go ahead, continue.
because you're getting like good experience and money,
Right.
and it's also the most challenging this game ever gets
Yeah.
is if you were to do that early on, and at some point it becomes straight up impossible because you're just not doing enough damage.
Right.
But do you know what the final reward is?
I don't think I looked it up. You fight another dragon boss, right?
Yeah, you do fight
A bone
another
one.
version of the dragon, a bone one, and it is a pretty tough fight. You get a badge
What is the badge,
called
dude?
the Return Postage badge,
Huh.
which will deal damage equal to half the damage you received back to whoever hit you.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
So it's pretty good, but you shouldn't be taking damage directly in this game.
I guess not, right.
So,
So, well, let me know when we get to the combat section and I'll ask you stuff.
right. I guess that's more combat related. So as far as exploration of this goes, that's maybe the most interesting diversion that you can go on. There
Right.
are
Most
a
of the
couple.
most of the exploration is just like, within the dungeon that you're supposed to tackle right now at the moment.
Sure,
So,
just like the side areas within there to grab this or that extra
right.
thing. The only other side content to speak of are the side narratives with Luigi,
Right.
that mouse guy we were just talking about, and there's one other person who talks about the history of Rogueport and the Crystal Stars and gives like a whole bunch of backstory about where the black chests come from that you got your power-ups. There's a story. There's like a lore to that.
Where is that guy? I don't remember anybody
He's
saying.
all the way on the east side of Rogueport. I think he's in a house that you have to get into a roof, like through the roof. I forget exactly
Yeah.
where. I didn't go to him on this
I
one,
should
but I
have met
remember
him,
talking
but
to him. I think he
okay.
might only show up at a certain point. So you're probably in that house at some point, but no one was there. So, I forget the exact trigger. But these are guys that you check in on as the story progresses, and then they give you another lore dump. And again, the focus there, of course, is the writing because it's all just them talking to you.
Right.
So the actual side questing in this game, not so much.
Yeah, I think so too. Another thing that you can do is there are a couple other things actually you can do that I also did not do. There's that Pianta's casino type place.
I didn't play any of those games.
Yeah, there are a bunch of side games you can do in there, and you can win things. And there's another one that I'm thinking of that you can do that's a side thing.
There's a lottery that you can do right outside.
The lottery, yeah. Did you ever win the lottery?
No, I remember playing it when I first played the game. There's a way to like fix the lottery. I forget how to do it though.
Yeah, I never won it either, but I went ahead and bought a ticket and was waiting for my number to come up, and it never did.
Yeah. You said you spent some star points on the guy who picks the star pieces.
Yeah, I used the star pieces to buy a bunch of. That's all those are for, right?
Those are
Just
those are for some pretty good badges. You know?
So I bought a bunch of badges from him using those.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, they put like star pieces behind anything. I like that.
They really do. I like how if there's anything obscuring the foreground, there's probably a fucking star piece behind it.
Yeah.
I bumped into half of them, just like we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. My daughter found a bunch of them too. Like, whoa.
Nice.
Yeah, and thank God, I don't know how, man. Like another one of the main exploration, like difficult parts, in the Great Tree, the second dungeon, the big tree dungeon. You have Madame Flurry with you, and she can do her blizzard wind thing, where she blows on things, and it like makes pieces of paper fly away. Yeah. And like I don't know how she noticed it. My daughter, there's like so many times where like I was supposed to use her to like make a piece of paper go away and access the thing, and I wasn't noticing it. I was not noticing like the little peeled up corner or whatever it was. You're supposed to find like the Poonie guy's shop in there or whatever in that tree, and like, dude, if my daughter wasn't there, that would have been looking online right there.
There's a couple of instances where there's almost no indication other than this looks a little suspicious.
Yeah.
And then I think the ones like that, I think I may have just remembered.
I mean, there's always just like you tried all your other abilities and none of them are working. Maybe I'll try Madame Flurry and blow something away. And there you go.
Pretty much. That whole dungeon was interesting in terms of the mechanic they had to run through with those little guys.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad, but
annoying.
Right, exactly. Honest. I found it kind of annoying when I came out of there. I was like, I don't really care for the Great Tree Dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the way it looked. It was really all black and white and boring.
Yeah, it was weird. It's exactly the same.
Didn't like it, but yeah, what are you going to do?
Then you go to Chapter 3, Glitzville.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like the best thing ever.
Really turned it around. All right, are we ready to talk about combat?
Okay, first question. I totally forgot. I keep doing this every game we play. There's like one mechanic that they tell me to use, and then I just forget about that one. Remember how in the very first Mario RPG that we played, I forgot that you could press the button when you get attacked to defend, and I never defended once in the whole game, and you were like, whoa.
I was like, you played this game on hard mode. I forgot about that. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so I noticed that this time, and then my daughter started up a new file because she just wanted to try to do stuff herself a little bit, even though she can't read English. And we got into the battle tutorial, and I had forgotten that the guy said that if you push the B button instead of the A button, you can do that little flip move where you just completely nullify the attack, no matter how powerful it is. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so if you
never
press me neither. The timing window on that is way tighter, and it's a big risk, big reward. So you can fully nullify, I think, every single attack in the game.
Yeah, if you know when.
If you know exactly when to do it.
That's amazing.
Even the ones that hit like boom, 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 like over and over and over, if you know the timing,
you can get them all.
Or if you cheat, because there's back in the day there was a action replay code where you would just hold down a button and it would execute all the timing moves for you.
That's crazy.
Messed around with it just to see how crazy it would get, and all the attack times and all of the perfect defense, it just does it for you. And it's like, wow, you just don't get hit at all, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I never used the B button. I forgot about it completely. I guess because I thought to myself, well, I got to learn the A timing before I'm going to learn the harder one, right? Is what I thought.
Yeah, and then the style little flips that you can do, they're attached to like every move.
Yeah, I found those later on my own. I didn't even buy the badge for it.
Right. Yeah, there's a badge that tells you the timing, right?
Right. That's what it said, and I didn't know what it meant yet. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then later, I just found some stuff like
if you just press a button after you do an attack, you'll probably execute one of those little style flips or whatever they are.
Yeah, the A button timing is really, really forgiving because it's not like if you push it too early once, that's the end of your input. You can push it again after, and so I noticed my daughter was like nailing some defensive timings. against hits from the enemy, like times that she should not know how to do, like those little fluffy guys that go on you and they suck your HP out. Like the animation for that's pretty long, and at the end of it is when you're supposed to push the button.
Right.
And like I'm like, oh whoa, you got the timing, and she's like, I just like was pressing the button over and over again. And I saw her do it, and like, yeah. So I guess it can take inputs like as fast as like da 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 even, and it'll still count them all. And if one of them is at the right time, it'll take it.
In other words, this isn't Eternal Sonata where they punish your face off.
Yeah, that's right.
Pressing the button too early, and your character is just committed to that stance, and then can't get out of it. Can't get out of it. But no, so yeah, there's a window. If you execute the button press at any point inside that window, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Same is true for the attacks. You can bash on the button early by accident and then press it again when the window is live, and you'll get the timing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having a harder time with some of the timings last time I played this game. With some of the special moves that you can do, like the star powers, and having an easier time. I don't know if that's just because I was not good.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any problem with it. Yeah, like I got all the star powers and all the timing. Like the most difficult one for me out of all of the timings, I think, is Vivian's her normal punch attack.
The random button.
Because just like duh, 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 and then they show the button like right before you're supposed to press it. It's like, damn, I can't react that fast. So that one, but like an ability. You said you didn't care for the star powers too much, but I actually use them a lot, yo.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. There's the one that you get early on that does like a lot of damage if you clear all the button checks.
Yes, that's the trimmer one, right?
Yeah, that I've used a bunch.
Same here. I use that a whole bunch of times because it does 5 or I think if you get it perfect, it does 6 damage to everything. Yeah,
which is a lot. Because, like we're saying in your review, all the values, all the numbers in this game are low.
Yes.
Really, really low. If you're not familiar with a Paper Mario game, it's somewhat true, but to a lesser extent in Mario RPG. But in Paper Mario 1 and 2, you're talking about HP values that get, like, high numbers are like 50.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I can say that I went through the entire game on 15 HP, basically no problem.
That's crazy, but at the same time, I can see it happening because a large number of damage to take is like 6, like you were saying. Like, that's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage in this game, exactly. So nice small numbers, easy to understand, easy to remember and stuff. And so a super good point that I noticed in your review that I didn't make, but I totally agree, is you said that it's cool that they made all of your partner characters have different buttons and different types of button inputs, different from Mario and different from each other, so that makes them feel more unique in the way that they move and everything. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a good point, and I like that too.
Yeah, it makes them feel distinct, and I definitely had my favorites just based around which timing I liked to use more than, like, I hated Madame Flurry. I didn't like using her moves. I didn't think she was a particularly effective combat character, so I never used her.
I hardly used her either.
Yeah, I used Bobbery a bunch. He's really strong.
Right, he just blows stuff up easy.
He just blows shit up. He has a move that blows everything up. It's expensive, but you can use it.
Yeah.
So you, in your review, said that you used a lot of badge points. I use a lot of flower points, or MP. That's the stat I focused on. So I was using those moves all the time to just do like a lot of damage to everything at once whenever I could.
And that went pretty smoothly?
Yeah. I never played the game quite that way before, as like a quote unquote mage type of build, I guess you could call it. But it worked out because I was never like empty of FP by the time I got to a save point or a checkpoint where I would fill back up.
Oh, nice.
And, healing items, you're going to need to do it here and there. But I always found like my character's attacks were better than whatever attacking items I would ever get. So,
I didn't have that experience.
oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
until the end of the game. The end of the game, like the items, like the first time I used a power block or a fire flower, I was like, dude, I just did 5 damage to everything. That's amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
But then, and that lasted that counted as a really powerful attack for pretty far into the game. But when it got near the end of the game, yeah, then all the not terribly expensive items were just not that good. So I stopped using attack items for the most part.
It's also a really low number of items that you can carry.
I found the thing. I think it was the maybe it was the reward for getting down to level 50 actually.
Yes.
But somewhere I found the
You get
thing
a
where
bag.
you can the bag that lets you carry double the items. So that was pretty cool.
Which helps a lot. And double is 20.
That's plenty. That's enough for me.
Guess so.
I mean,
guess maybe I'm a hoarder.
yeah, maybe I was using items as I found them. So another thing that I did with my badge situation is I put on the one that gives you more items after battle. Like you beat the
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, you beat the battle, and then the enemy explodes into If you don't wear any other badges that manipulate it, you might just get a couple coins. Is what's common. Right. But if you put on all 3 of the badges that give you plus flower points, plus hearts, plus items, you can get tons of things from every battle. And if you don't do that, it's like you said in your review. You don't get much experience points from weak battles at all. Like literally, you could fight 3 guys and just get a single star point.
It's a real big waste of time in that case. Yeah, They do the same thing. This is the same experience system they had from Mario RPG, where it's based on your level relative to the enemy you're fighting.
Exactly.
So you get a constantly changing amount of XP. If you're level 10 and the enemy's level 1, you're going to get 1 experience point. But when you were level 1 and they were level 1, you got 10.
Right.
Whatever the math is.
Yeah.
So it ends up breaking down, and that's because there's a fixed number of points to get you to the next level. It's always 100.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way. I mean, whether we like it or not is another thing, but that is definitely a good way to make sure the difficulty curve is exactly the way you want it to be.
True. I mean, you could have done it in a way that was, I think it fits. That's definitely the reason why they did it. The other reason why it's that way is because it fits with the small number scheme that they're going for, where even the experience points that you're earning is never more than like 20. That's a lot. If it's like 30 or 40, that's like, whoa, big crazy boss, like something. But usually it's like 5, 10. So all the numbers across the board in this game are small. And that fits with it, because really whatever the math is, you could just reverse engineer the math and just say, well, actually, I'm getting like 500 experience here weighted against my level, whatever the value is, or whatever the formula is. But they just don't show you that math.
Yeah, they don't show you. Yeah. Yeah, I did get 30 points from a couple of the end bosses.
Yeah, that's like when they want you to level up and whatever. And if you do any of the Pit of 100 trials early, you get like crazy experience points.
Yeah, if you can get past like some of the what I imagine are just the points that prevent you from going on, like guys that are made of metal and stuff or stone, and you can't deal enough damage.
You need a move to do damage to them. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can once you get past that point, you could probably really level up like crazy in there, huh?
I've never leveled up twice in one like match.
Yeah, that's
I wonder
not possible,
if you can.
Right?
That's what I was about to ask. I was like, I wonder if that's even possible.
You'd have to get over 100 stars. That means
right
from a battle. Have you ever gotten anywhere near that?
No, no. But I would imagine if you were to somehow put your character in the bottom and you beat the dragon as like level 1. It has to be worth more than 100.
That has to be worth like 500, right?
Yeah. So what would happen? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I know in Mario RPG, I've definitely leveled up multiple times in one battle, but the experience system there is a little different. So I don't know. So let's see. What else were we talking about with the
Combat.
combat? I know we mentioned a couple things earlier on, but
So I
just like the
noticed
general
something.
difficulty. Go ahead.
Sorry. So you said in yours that a thing you had to do that you didn't really care for was that you always had to wait out all of the enemy buffs, like when they up their offense,
Yeah,
and particularly when they up their defense. That was a problem for me for a while.
yeah.
Me too. I just
That,
had to wait it out. I was like, I can't hit him when he has +3 defense. He'll take 0 damage.
exactly. And yeah, that's the other thing. So again, the numbers are all really tiny. Most enemies have 0 defense.
Right. And every
And
time you meet
that
a person with
means
1 or 2, like if you
it's
meet a dude with
low.
1 defense, freaking Yoshi becomes useless. His normal attack, I mean.
Correct.
If you
Yeah.
use his, yeah,
Any like Goombella would be useless. You can't hit past
2
1
damage or something.
defense.
Yeah, 1 defense
Yeah,
you can do, yeah.
right. And then if you level up your partners twice.
I did. I found the
Right.
thing.
Right. Okay, good.
You had to go back to
Uh
Hooktail Castle again, right?
yeah. And get an up arrow, which is kind of funny.
To get an up
Uh
arrow. Yeah, that was funny.
yeah, just to remind him to look up to get the thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was another good example of this
Of the
game just
comedy.
being kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can level up again. At some point, the game starts just dumping shine sprites on you. That's the item you need to collect to level up your partners.
Yeah, I had
Uh,
extra ones after leveling everyone up to the max even.
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't level everyone. I just leveled up the ones I like, and I had a couple extra. And I know I missed 1 or 2. I didn't go back to Glitzville to get that one. I don't think I ever did.
Yeah, I just, I had the shine sprites, so I just went for it. Did everything.
Yeah, I mean, you have to cross that place every time you go back to Rogueport, so they definitely want you to level up whenever you get back. And it makes a big difference. You get more HP for your partner, and they get a new move, which is sometimes useful, sometimes not. And I think they do more base damage on their initial hit of their regular attack per level up, and they all can only level up twice. So, yeah, Goombella can hit 2, I guess, when she's max level.
I think
but if, like you were saying, they're armored and they buff themselves, like,
yeah,
you could spend a lot of FP. Well, you could spend a lot of FP on an attack that does like 7 damage and then do 3 damage to them or something.
Right. That's such a waste.
It is a waste. If you're like, I just want to get through this fucking fight. Like,
Yeah. No, so I usually just focused on somebody else, or if that was the only person, then yeah, I would like let Vivian take me down into the shadows and like just wait out.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they did attack up.
You have to have Vivian out.
I used her a lot.
Oh, you did? All right. I almost never used her.
She was kind of critical to my dangerous badge setup, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because she would be able to hide you?
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah, I used Bobbery a whole bunch. And probably Coops a lot because he can always hit
he can hit anyone, right? Yeah.
Well, no, only if they're on the ground.
Right, but like it doesn't matter if they're armored or anything. He can hit them usually.
No, if they're armored, he won't. But oftentimes the enemies are on the ground and not armored.
Who am I thinking of?
He just comes in handy a lot.
What enemies am I thinking of that I kept constantly wanting to use somebody else, but I kept having to use Coops because only he could hit them? I know you can't jump on fire enemies. I don't know. I can't remember now, but there was like lots of enemies like that for me.
That's the thing that he is useful for is that, so there's that mechanic where certain enemies are either on fire or they're spiky. So
right.
An enemy that makes like soft body contact with them, with their fist or their feet, will take damage. But Coops is using his shell, and so his Bobbery uses his like explosion. So some enemies are attacking like, quote, from a distance. So like you do with your hammer, but usually they need to be on the ground for those attacks to work, or you need a badge from Mario to ignore spikes.
Dude, there is a crazy freaking battle like really early in the game on your way to the dungeon that you have to go to after Petal Town but before Hooktail Castle. Like you have to, it's the place where you have to go to get, is it a dungeon? I can't remember. You have to get the keystones or whatever I think it is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
And there's this battle where these two big ass stone spiky things come out, and if you can't jump on them obviously because they're spiky, so you walk up with your hammer and they just spear you before you can hammer. And I'm thinking, is the only way to get past this to have an item?
Yep.
It is? Okay, wow.
Yeah,
that surprised
at that
me.
stage of the game, it is. There are moves that you will get later on that you could have used, but you don't have access to them.
Right.
So I just avoided those fights or used a power block.
I think no, there was one that was like a required one to get to the first guy who quizzes you.
Yeah, the quiz. How well did you do on those quizzes?
Pretty well on most of. Okay, wait. I can't say pretty well, but I didn't hit game over on any of them. But I think what always happened is because if you get 3 mistakes, you lose, and 5 correct, you win. And I think I always got 2 mistakes, and then it was always like, oh god, and then but I got it at the end.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
What the hilarious thing? I think every time if you manage to make it to the last question, which would be the 7th, because you got 2 wrong and 4 right, and the last question is going to decide everything. So that would be question number 7. I got to that point twice, and both times it was the same question, which is, what number question is this?
Oh, interesting.
And behind Mario is a number 7 on the freaking monitor.
Got it. That's very funny.
So I wasn't worried.
They're trying to help you out there.
Yeah, they helped you out when it comes down to the wire. So that was fun.
That's funny. I don't think I've ever lost. I guess it's a game over if you lose.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. If you lose, did I see it or not? I can't remember because like my daughter played it too. Yeah, I'm not sure if you lose that, it's a game over or not. This game does straight up just go back to the save point. You lose everything.
I was about to just say that. I was like, this game's like fucking serious about its game over. It's like, no, game is over. Back to the main menu.
dude, there's like a time where like, what is it? That's right. When you're on the train and the ghost dude that you find tells you to get back his diary or something. And so I went and found it, and he said, whatever you do, do not read it. And then you find it, and you step out of the train cart, and he's like, okay, well, should I read it? And you have to say yes or no, right? And I said, yes. And then another text box comes up. Are you sure you want to read it? Because the guy said something really bad could happen to you. And I said, yes. And they asked if you're sure a 3rd time. I'm absolutely sure. Yes. And it's instant game over if you do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a couple dialogue game overs you can get in this game beside that one. I guess the quiz counts as one, but at the very end, there's a dialogue choice where you can choose to join the main enemy or not. And if you say yes, you just get a game over.
Oh, man. Yeah. I was tempted, but I was scared.
It's instant. It's not even like, are you sure? It's just like, yeah, all right, game over.
Everyone
died.
Yeah. There was also going back. This is going way back to like how good the dialogue is. There were like some weird little dialogue scenes too. Like for example, there's that time when this guy and his wife are having an argument, and the wife says, if you want to make it up to me, say I love you 100 times.
Oh my
And you have to sit there, and he literally says it 100 times. You have to press the button over and over again 100 times.
The counter shows up eventually, but the counter shows up eventually. It doesn't show up right away.
It comes up like at the 10th time or something.
Yeah.
I was kind of mind blown at that. He's really going to make you do it? Make me going to press it 100 times? After like the 20th time, I was like, dude, they're going to interrupt me soon, right? They're going to interrupt me with like the...
I thought so too. I forgot all about that.
That was genius.
Oh my God. That was actually very funny. Yeah. The game has a lot of funny little dialogue gameplay elements of it. So
getting back to combat.
Yeah, on my notes. So you mentioned a couple things I didn't pick up on. So the stage that you fight on.
That's like the most important thing of this game, I think.
It's definitely something I always, whenever I have gone to play this game again, I always forget. I was like, oh yeah, the whole stage mechanic, and that's interesting. Where you're basically putting on a show, and you are attracting audience members, and the stage has random, apparently not completely random, events that will happen, like lights will fall or the
Yeah.
backdrop will fall or
Yeah.
something.
The
And you had
backdrop.
mentioned the more you use your hammer,
I
the
noticed that after a
more.
while. Yeah.
So I had no idea that's what was causing that.
I think that's what it was. At the
Okay.
very end of my playthrough, I think I finally noticed it. Dude, I think that's only happening when I used power smash a lot is why.
You know what? Because the backdrop wobbles around a bunch, but
Hmm.
it doesn't always fall. I think that's true. I think it's trying to indicate to you, ooh, the
If you
stage is
shake the
falling apart.
place.
Yeah, right. And yeah, so and you can do a timed like block on those things
To do
too
it.
to negate damage. It will also randomly freeze some or all of the participants in battle or cast
Oh,
like a smoke screen.
yeah. I'm like, what is this? Like that it makes the enemies and I guess you also
It's really fun.
more easy to avoid or something?
50% dodge rate, and it's just like, well, I guess combat's just on pause for a turn or two, and
Yeah.
that happened to me 3 times in a row once. I was like, what the fuck?
I mean that smoke mist machine order that popped out for me like most battles. Like I just like, well, what is this?
Happened quite a lot. It was probably the most common one, but the other one was like the icicle fucking blast. I don't know what that
Yeah, the
was.
dry ice, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. And it would freeze.
If it's a
In the fight
stage.
with Bowser at the end, I froze him. I was like, oh, cool, all right. And then
Yeah.
that's
Nintendo
how it went.
guys Nintendo guys, especially with Mario games, are like really into throwing in like a bunch of random stuff into all their games. Like I think that's how the progression of Mario Party games goes as well. Like the first ones, they're a lot more skill based, and they just get more and more and more like luck based as each new one comes out. Is what I hear anyway.
Yeah, I think they're interested in their solution for game difficulty is often to just kind of add randomness,
Yeah,
either beneficial or detrimental, depending on the game, to keep everyone on the same footing or
yeah,
counterintuitively to sort of make sure everyone has a more similar experience
yeah.
and not just it all up to player skill.
Mm, yeah. I remember Miyamoto or someone on from Nintendo said that they want their games to be fun without being difficult.
Right.
Like when talking
And
about Mario games or something.
yeah, Mario games, they've had numerous ways of approaching it. Like sometimes what they'll do is if you die a bunch in one of the Mario games, they'll be like, you want to use this power up that just basically makes you invincible and can fly forever? And you can say no, but they'll ask you if you die in an area
Mario
like
games do that?
newer ones, yeah, like the newer
Huh.
Mario Galaxy and
Uh,
other few Mario games.
that's interesting. I
Yeah.
don't think I care for that.
Me neither. It's a little annoying, and you have to say no every time. It's like, no, I don't want baby mode on. Thank you. I'm trying.
I'm trying, yeah.
But
Thanks for
yeah,
insulting me, guys.
yeah, it's kind of obnoxious. But in the past, they've relied a little more on the mantra of something being easy to pick up but difficult to master. So
Ah,
more of a hands-off approach where the game is simple in its basics, but the skill ceiling is really high for those who
yeah.
spend the time to get there. But they've kind of moved away from that in favor of, making sure everyone has the same consistent experience and,
Hmm.
for whatever it's worth, that's kind of the direction they've gone in. But yeah, they do the random elements in combat here. I don't know how I feel about them. I could kind of take them or leave. I think I'd rather do without them, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe me too. I don't know. It definitely adds something an interesting, another thing to think about, which is fine, I guess. Yeah.
Audience one that you mentioned in your review, if we had to keep one, I would keep that because it's not too intrusive.
The audience thing is not like really. I mean, I know sometimes they jump on stage and like dump buckets of water from the rafters down on you and stuff. That sometimes happen, but I mean the audience thing is oh, you mean the thing where they throw things at you from the
Right.
audience? Yeah, that's an interesting one where like you have to pay attention to whether or not you have an X button prompt or not.
Yeah, and then you have to, like you said, you have to scan the audience to see if what they're throwing at you is actually good or bad, and then you
And
can
then
just panic and
decide.
hit X and then bop them on the head, regardless of what they have in their hand, which is usually what I did.
Yeah, it happened to me a lot too. I
That
like that.
mechanic I don't mind. Yeah, I would keep that, but all the other stuff, the stage falling on you, the freezing in the fog,
I like the
I'll-
backstrap falling thing actually. Especially if it actually is like I think, and it is actually just every time you use the hammer, because then you can learn to do
yeah,
the defense timing and avoid the damage yourself, and the enemies will never avoid it, and they can get an extra 1 damage, which is cool.
right. That's true. Yeah, the audience throwing stuff at you, I think is okay. The only part I don't like about it is if you're in a menu, you have to back out of the menu to hit X,
Oh,
which is kind of like you're always in a menu. It's a menu-based game, so
right.
you know, I never, and then I don't, I panic, hit the wrong button, and then I get bopped on the head during an attack,
Yeah,
or like
but
right before I go to hit the attack.
but the thing where you have to impress them by doing stylish moves and hitting button times correctly to get star power from them, I think that's genius.
I think that's really clever. I think having that audience number
It's cool.
increase as you do better, and that affects the star power, and then also having your level determine like how famous you're getting. So you have a
Yeah,
bigger stage.
right. That's
It
right.
goes
Yeah,
from
there
like
was
a
a time
big
where I leveled
stage
up.
with full stairs, and it ends in like a giant operatic, like huge area.
Oh, I wonder if you level up to the max, like does the stage get like noticeably like different?
That is a good question. I don't think so. I don't know what level I was, but I think A-list celebrity or whatever is like the highest you can go.
I think that's what I got up to though.
Yeah, there's only three.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So I as a person who used those star abilities quite often, I know you didn't care for the sweet treat healing ability, but I
Yeah, it
needed it a
never
lot.
felt effective a lot. I guess, yeah, because you were always riding the edge. I always
Hmm.
felt like I got more effective ways of healing.
Right. If you buy a bunch of mushrooms, you could just use those.
Yeah,
But they cost money, and I didn't have a lot of money in the beginning of the game. After the Coliseum, though, I did have a lot of money, and I could have spent a lot of money on items. But also, I was using the get items from Battle Badge, which,
Mm,
and I just use those. But you don't get anything really crazy. You won't get like a freaking life shroom that'll like save you upon death or anything. You won't get anything
right.
that crazy from a normal battle. So yeah, using the sweet treat or whatever was a good way for me to heal, especially F flower points,
Yeah,
because I always ran out of those because I didn't have that many, only 15, I think. I mean, I had, yeah. You start with 5. I leveled it up once to 10, and I had a badge that gave me another +5. So I only had 15 the whole time.
that's
And I,
crazy.
and I only had 15 HP also because I didn't have any
That's
badges to
so
improve
great.
it.
You could easily get one shot. I mean, toward the end, there are enemies that will rapidly throw a
Lots
lot
of
of
hits at you,
like,
yeah.
and you could easily get like 20 damage taken in
So,
one volley.
so are we going to go into the badges now, I guess?
Sure, that's definitely part of. Oh, well, I guess you broke that in a separate section here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, well, hold on then, yeah.
let's see here. Did I have anything else about this? So, I mentioned in my review, I was running from a good number of fights just because I didn't want to have to deal with them. I had the badge that lets you, bop enemies on the head to cancel the encounter.
Whoa, I never
So
found that one.
that's yeah. There, I don't remember where I got it,
You mean when you're
but
outside on the field, if you jump on them, instead of initiating battle, they'll just get knocked out and be done?
they'll be dead. But they have to be some number of levels below you.
Yeah, but that's no problem.
It's still
Wow.
pretty good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think you get anything for it. It's not like you're getting 1 star point and items. They just disappear.
Right.
But you have to time it. You have to hit them with a hammer or jump on them.
Right.
It's still easier to avoid them, I think.
Yeah.
Just like run around them or whatever. Some are trickier to avoid the way they move on the world
Yeah, the overworld.
level, but for the most part, I was running or avoiding a lot of the battles. I'm assuming you were finishing most of them.
Yeah, I went ahead and finished most of them because I don't like the whole dropping coins thing.
Yeah, you do drop coins when you run. But
yeah,
I wasn't
so I
really
finished
spending
most of
them on
them.
anything. All right, so let's go into the badges. Like we were saying, this is a big mechanic of the combat and the gameplay where you equip badges. You have a pool of badge points, and badges all cost a certain number of points, and some badges affect you, some badges affect your partner, some are general gameplay changes.
Yeah.
I think my only comment here was in relation to what you said, where you spec toward badge points. You had 57 badge points.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I needed them all, too.
That's a lot of badge points.
Yeah. So, every time you level up in this game, for the audience, you could choose between what you want to increase. You can get 5 more HP, 5 more flower points, or 3 more badge points. And
Right.
I said, as I wrote in my review, I leveled up my HP once because 10 was not enough. I leveled up my flower points once because 5 was not enough. And then I equipped another badge later to let me have 5 more flower points, and 15 was doing actually pretty good. And I spent all the rest up until the end on badge points. And my daughter was like, dude, you only have 15 hit points. You're going to die. I'm like, no, I need more badge points. And
I love how you went so hard into badge points that early.
Because I remembered from the first game, like, I want more badge points. I need to equip more awesome badges. There are so many of them that are good. I want to equip as many as possible. And so, yeah, I knew from the beginning I needed to focus on badge points. And at the very end, though, I started going up a bunch of levels in that final dungeon. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to use these badges that I have equipped now. So I finally started. I put like 3 levels into HP at the very end before the final boss, which was a good idea. I don't know. That would have been a really hard one to do. Yeah. So anyway, what were your favorite badges, Mel, or most used badges?
The one, like I said, the one where you nullify encounters. I used a bunch of hammer-related ones for Mario. The Quake badge or Quake hammer or whatever that hits everyone. Early on, that was super powerful. There's an ice and a fire one that I used. I didn't use any of the ones that, like, if you're in peril or danger or whatever, get a buff. Let's see, what else ones did I use? Some basic, like, trade-off, like more attack for lower defense. I think I used.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
And the partner equivalent. So a lot of the times these badges are effectively 2 badges because they have a partner equivalent.
Right.
That does the same thing for them.
You have to equip it separately for separate points.
Yeah, separate cost. And I tried the one that gives you more damage when you successfully execute a timed hit.
Me too.
But it reduces it. Yeah, I played around with that.
If you don't get it on time, though, you just deal 0 damage, though.
Right. So I ended up taking that off after some point.
Well, most of them aren't that hard, right?
Yeah, but I didn't like the inconsistency of missing and doing 0 damage. I was trying to, like, I was like, nah, I don't care if I miss the timing.
Okay. So my badge setup was a little bit crazy.
I can imagine.
It turns out the badge called Close Call, which is when you're in danger, you're more likely to avoid attacks, is like really high percentage.
So you paired that up with the one where you have low health. Got it.
Well, I did something better than that. I paired that one with another one of the same one. And when you get into danger mode, when you have 2 of those equipped, almost nothing hits you. It's so crazy. Like, I can't believe they let it be that powerful. So I had that combined with if you're in peril, which peril only happens when you're at 1 HP. If you're in peril, plus 5 attack power. That's a badge, yo, because you have to be 1 HP, but you get plus 5, right? That's insane, right? So I put that, and then I put plus 1 attack for as long as you make the button timing, but 0 if you miss it. I put plus 1 attack, minus 1 defense. I put an attack up just for free, not for free, but I mean just plus 1 attack with no other negatives or anything attached to it. And I also put a couple defense up as well. Later, I had enough points for those as well. And I mostly just considered all the damage to be done by Mario. And my whole world was changed when I got the Spike Guard badge, which lets you just jump on top of dudes that have spikes. And I was like, oh my freaking God. And I got that on. And you put on multi-bounce and power jump. And you have beaten the game. Almost. So normal battles, if you can get yourself down to 1 HP and then not level up for a while, because when you level up, you get healed.
Right.
And never get healed at all. If you can make sure you can get the first strike, you can enter a battle. It doesn't matter how many enemies there are or if they have spikes on. You do multi-bounce and you do 7 damage to all of them and they die in 1 round from Mario. But more impressive is what you can do when you go into a boss battle with it on. Because you can use power bounce, and the first bounce will do 10 damage. The second hit will do 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, if you can keep it going that long. So you can literally one-shot a boss if you can do it. The timing is like super impossible to figure out, though. Like, I swear it's luck.
I think they block you on some of the boss fights with multi-hit moves that would reduce their HP below a certain threshold because the game wants you to step through the different phases.
Maybe. I don't know if that actually happened to me, though. I mean, there were times where I got somebody really low, but then I died and I had to try again, and then there were times where I just like failed pretty early. I don't know. But if you can get Yoshi to hit, I killed Rockhawk like nothing. Like nothing, because if you you have to mash the R button when he attacks, and then he'll do like 5 hits, right?
Right.
If you have, because I had it for my partner as well. I had all of these same badges also for the setup for the partner as well. If you you can get Yosh to 1 HP as well, and he does that, he'll do 5 hits times like 7 damage and instantly do 42 damage in a single attack.
Yeah, that's more HP than most of the
bosses, right? Yeah. So that's what I did, and I had a good time doing it, but at the end, I couldn't do that. The final 2 bosses were too hard to do that.
Yeah, they also have quite a lot of HP. I guess the reason, that is really OP, but there's a little bit of logic, I guess, behind it, because if Mario dies,
it's instant game over. Yeah.
Unless you have that life shroom that auto resurrects.
Right.
That's it. Your partner can still be alive. It doesn't matter. There's no normally way to revive. That's it. Game's over. You go back to the last save. So I guess they're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right. But you have to have 1 HP to do it. So I mean, you could die at any moment if they don't miss you.
Right. There is genuine, even if you're 80% likely to dodge, you're still 20% chance away from a game over any given. That's a lot.
Right. And if you're going to do that for every battle in a dungeon, that's pretty dangerous.
That's kind of dangerous. Yeah, that's pretty fucking dangerous. So, that sounds like a really crazy high risk, high reward play style. Not surprising given the way you played some of the other games on our playthroughs recently.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't really considered min-maxing. Like I said, in my previous, I don't know if I wrote this in my review. I wrote it in my notes here, but in my original playthroughs, I always leveled everything evenly.
Right.
Because it was like, that's the way you gotta do it. Like, you never know. Like, gotta be prepared for whatever. So I was always like HP, FP, and then BP, and then back to HP.
Right. In a row. In an order.
In a row. Do it that way. Make sure everything's nice and even. Or leveled up evenly, and So I was never really min-maxing, which doesn't surprise me that you can break a game like this because the combat sort of structure is it's pretty simple. Like it's
Yeah.
probably very breakable if you know exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting concept there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to dump all my points into BP that way.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. I had a good time.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any other parts of the gameplay you have to comment on here?
There was a really interesting thing in the first. Okay, that's not the first boss. Maybe in the boss battle against Hooktail. That was really interesting. I was still really scared of like what's gonna happen when I meet the dragon. when I met him, I had a whole lot of confidence in my later game, but in the early game, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was kind of scared. And I wasn't catching on to what the hint was, but like the hint was Hooktail is deathly afraid of things that start with CR and end with icket. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Cricket. Okay. I don't know about crickets, but there's something related to it in this castle. And I went all over the place and I found the thing, but I didn't know that was the thing. When you know what the thing is, it's a thing that there's a badge that changes your hammer sound effect. And I guess that's the sound of a cricket, but I didn't think it was the sound of a cricket. I just had it on to try it, and I got lucky. When I hit him, he's like, "Oh my God, that sound, it's a cricket." I'm like, "Wait, what? This is it? This is the cricket? I didn't know that." So I got lucky. Did you figure that out or know about that?
I did from the earlier playthroughs, and that's just something I remember doing. So that's interesting. I didn't know how clear that was communicated because I don't remember what the actual hint was for that.
Well, somebody says it just like what I said.
Hinting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. It's funny. You didn't think that was a cricket.
Yeah, I didn't think that sounded like a cricket. It sounded like a little just boing sound to me.
Yeah, it's kind of not. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think of what it sounded like, but yeah. There's other sound effects badges too.
Yeah, I got a few. 3 of them, I think. Also had a ton of money once, so I went ahead and blew 360 coins on making my clothes the same color as Wario.
Oh, right. There's color ones too. So I didn't buy so many badges because I didn't have that many BP, I guess. Yeah, I forgot. There were ones that color. There's another one that makes you look like Luigi, and if you put the Wario and Luigi on, you look like Waluigi.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So you have to have both on. Yeah, badges in this game are really cool. And sadly, they took the wrong lesson from badges in the later games where you need equipment that is like, what if you found badges and they were like single use?
Single use? Like you use them and then they're consumed?
Badges. Yeah. That's kind of what the later games end up doing, and it's not as good.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't sound like fun to me either. Not as fun.
Yeah, it kind of turns it into more of like a card game sort of thing where you're getting they're stickers, but they're basically badges, and they do things. Some of them are really basic, like they let you use a basic hammer move, and then you use it,
and then it's gone.
Get more. Yeah, but you get more, and I don't know. Those games didn't review very well. I looked at them; they didn't seem like they would be what I wanted, so I never played them.
I see.
Yeah.
Were there any dungeons that you really liked in this game? I enjoyed. I think
Go ahead.
I enjoyed the Ghost, the Twilight Town duplices. I just spoiled his name, guys.
Oops. Well, that doesn't help you, though. Right?
What do you mean it doesn't help you?
If you know his name, you still can't. You have to go through the whole thing.
You have to go and get the letter P first?
Correct.
Is that what you mean?
You have to go and get the letter P for the menu.
Right.
Because the P is missing.
Oh, was it missing? That's what he meant by missing.
There.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I was confused. Like, what do you mean by missing? Whatever, but I have it now. I didn't notice it was gone the first time.
Yeah, if you look in the menu, the letter P is gone. What you're doing is
That
you're
is
collecting
genius.
the letter P from the menu.
Right, for the menu, yeah.
Yeah, for the menu. I don't know, it's just another one of those like kind of meta humor things that they do.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I liked his dungeon where you had to like go in the room with all the ghosts and then you had to rush through to get to the other side and stuff. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I guess dungeon wise, I like the end was kind of cool because you're constantly using all of the powers that you got, like one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
Um, I guess, yeah. It was more like the combat itself that it was my focus. The combat and the script. Those are the
Mm,
two like takeaways I have from the game.
okay. I also liked the 8 keys puzzle section as well, actually, in the final dungeon.
Yeah, that was fun. I thought some of the hints were a little goofy.
Yeah. I mean, they got to make it hard to understand or else it'd be too easy, right?
I guess, but it's just like I don't know. I kind of didn't like that section too much. I prefer the combat, straightforward stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we move on to music?
Okay. Is this the last section then?
I think so.
All right. Let's talk about the music.
Music. You had a lot more, as not surprisingly, to say about this. Once you stepped through it and started talking and bringing up certain aspects of it, I was like, oh yeah, I can hear that now in my head. Yeah, this tune did blah blah blah. But my takeaway was that it is mostly a background
Hmm.
thing that kind of stays out of the way, and it's not going to stick in your head, but it's not going to bug you either. But there are standout tracks, the ones that you mentioned in Rogueport and the
The
battle
battle.
theme
It's
goes
way
through
too
all
short,
of
to be
those.
honest. It is way too
That's
short.
true. It is true, and there is a separate boss theme, but it's kind of generic.
Yeah, I don't
At least
remember any of the boss themes, so I guess they didn't stand out to me either. But
they're just like more grim sort of music. There's like a bell that tolls at the
Oh,
beginning,
that's cool.
and then it's kind of just like kind of serious. But
Yeah.
The regular, real upbeat kind of battle theme that has a bunch of homage to other tunes in Mario games.
Right.
It is a pretty good track.
Indeed. So yeah, without a doubt, the most important track is the best track. Thankfully, it is way too short, like I said, but my God, it is so catchy, and I really like how they use the Super Mario Brothers Stage 1 theme, like the most famous Mario song of all, as like the base or whatever for the inspiration for it. For the audience, the original Mario Brothers Stage 1 theme goes da 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 da, and the very beginning of this game's battle theme goes da 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 da. Like it's almost the same, right?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
keeps getting almost the same, almost the entire track.
Right, exactly. It happens a lot. And yeah, but I don't know, man. Just like the whole image of Mario is, he's this happy Italian plumber guy, and every time he jumps, he goes, "Ooh, wow, hey!" And it's like the most fun thing ever in the world. And man, like they totally nail it with, that battle track where we're just having fun, hitting stuff with our hammer and jumping on turtles. Man, it's fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I cannot get that freaking bass line out of my head. Right in the beginning of the song. The song's super short. The whole song is the beginning. It goes to that horn line that sounds just like Mario Brothers 1, and then it goes da 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 da. And then right after that, the bass comes in all like
Yeah.
boom, 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 and that thing
Yes.
never left my head for months. That bass line.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that little breakdown part. Yeah.
And then the keyboard player comes out like I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And then, the after the keyboard player goes on into like a full-on solo, it ends with then the horns come in, da 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 da, and you're like, okay, they're winding the song down. Da 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 da. Wait, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That's the wrong part. That's the part in the beginning. Hold on a second. Okay. What's the next thing that comes up? The end of the Super Mario Stage 1 theme. I was like, oh, they hit it perfect and brought it around full circle. I was impressed.
It is a really good track when you break it down that way. I have to agree. It didn't stick in my head too much, but I can instantly remember it though. It's like one of those things where thinking about it, I know it because it is a track you hear a lot. And it definitely conveys the sort of the energetic kind of upbeat nature, but it's got that more focused section because it is a strategy game ostensibly. You are trying to think a little bit and think, so you're looking at a menu and you're like, oh, should I do this or that? So it plays into that as well, and you can tell that they were kind of, you gotta. It's not it's not an action game, right? Although there is kind of action-y. So I think it fits what you're doing, and as far as what the rest of the game's soundtrack, Rogueport definitely still stands out to me.
Yeah.
And then the Dr. Frankly or Professor Frankly, weird.
Yeah, like it was
crazy
just like
soundtrack.
Right. I can't remember it now, but I just remember when, especially the first time you're talking to him in that really long ass cutscene. That's something we didn't bring up in the story. Full of long ass unskippable cutscenes. You better be ready for some dialogue if you're gonna play this game.
Oh yeah.
And freaking, he's talking about the Legend of the Seven Stars and all that, and all of a sudden, like the track is just like freaking Arabian Nights. Like, I don't know, freaking Aladdin time. It's Aladdin time, just like from out of nowhere. And the Rogueport track has something like that too, and I don't really understand the connection. Are they just going for something unique? Because Rogueport starts off with all the strings going, which sounds really cool, and then the freaking bass, along with this thing that sounds like a sitar, goes, and I'm like, what? That's interesting. I don't know. It's got this sitar sound going on in this soundtrack.
Going for something a little exotic,
yeah,
like overseas, because it's like a port town, but you never really told like, of what. Like, where are you? Like, I don't know. You're in
Rogueport.
Yeah. Wherever that is, and it's not the Mushroom Kingdom,
right?
It's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's to convey the sort of exotic flavor they're going for. I don't know what Professor Frankly's deal is. He's just like a crazy professor guy with swirly glasses. So he's weird and eccentric, and he screams a lot.
I guess that's what they're going for with his.
I guess music. That's what they're going for there.
Yeah. Overall, I like the soundtrack, even though most of it is just atmosphere stuff.
Yeah, I can't call to mind more than a couple sort of ambient hums and tunes from any of the other areas, but that's not a bad thing. I think it works. There's kind of an electronic quality to some of it, in like with the keyboard section in the battle music, but also other areas where it's got this sort of electro sort of.
The Xnauts moon base was like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the Great Tree also, there was this sort of electronic, sort of synthy almost.
Yeah, you're right. I remember it a little bit now.
Parts of it here and there didn't really stand out too much, but it was in there.
The Xnauts base one stood out to me, like, because you walk in and it's playing these like crazy arpeggios at the beginning, but then after that it gets kind of all subdued again, like just background atmosphere music. But in the beginning, the arpeggios kind of stood out to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, they carried that further in Super Paper Mario for the Wii, which was a platformer and not a role-playing game at all, really.
Yeah.
Where that theme and the electronic sort of nature of it was highlighted even more. So maybe they were starting with that idea there. I don't know.
Yeah,
All
maybe.
right. Any other final points you have?
Nope. If you've never played, to the audience, if you've never played Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, and you like turn-based combat, I recommend it.
Yeah, this is considered of the original titles, like kind of the height of the series. I know
Yeah.
the later games have their own fan base at this point. From what I've gathered online, I was reading a little bit about it, and there seems to be a bit of a division among people who I guess are probably younger, who played the newer games and like those, and people who played the older games and like those.
Yeah.
Where that fits in with the Mario and Luigi games, I don't know, but I've only played those briefly. They're very different, and the ones on the Game Boy Advance are more similar to these games. They have a gimmick in them that's a little different, but the one that is on the ones that are on the DS are heavily reliant on the dual screen concept, to the point where I think there are certain elements where you need to turn the DS sideways to participate in certain parts of the game. Yeah, they go really off in really wild creative directions with some of the Mario and Luigi games. That's made by a completely different company. I looked it up. I thought that was Intelligent Systems who made those games. That's Alpha Dream, I think it's called. It's the company that made those games. I don't recall them having the same level of dialogue that these games do. I think Intelligent Systems really this is like their strong suit, because the Fire Emblem games are really well written too. So I have a feeling this is kind of their signature move here.
Cool. Yeah.
Have
they made any newer games after this, or like what? I mean, just Fire Emblem, I guess, huh?
They're on the Fire Emblem train. Like Fire Emblem picked up and blew up big time.
It did, didn't it? Yeah.
Around 2013 or something, when they thought they were done, and suddenly it sold like the craziest thing ever. And they're like, I guess we're super duper not done.
Nice. Yeah.
And they went on to make a lot more Fire Emblem. So I'm pretty sure that's what's been occupying that company for a while now. But yeah, they used to do this. I don't know who's making the Mario RPG series since then. Maybe it's been Intelligent Systems, but they never quite stayed within the same wheelhouse on any of that. Yeah, it is Intelligent Systems who made the later ones, but so they went off in different directions. Some of them were still like semi-turn based, but like I was saying, there are these other elements that kind of layer on top of it that stop it from being a truly like a traditional turn-based game that doesn't have those gimmicks in it.
How was did you play the origami one that came out recently? The Origami King?
No. I came close to buying it. I think we mentioned it on
we thought the combat looked kind of cool, but we never got to play it. So
never got around to it. I never heard really like stunning things. I heard like it's kind of like Thousand Year Door if you squint at it sideways. And I'm like, might as well just play Thousand Year Door if that's the case. Like I still have that game to play. Like it's fine. So yeah, that is to say this is a really good refinement of a part of the series that they may have moved away from. Who knows if they'll ever get back to it. But yeah, if you like turn-based games, all three of these games are really solid up to this point, as far as I can say for certain first-hand experience-wise. And good luck finding a copy if you're looking for a physical version.
Yep.
Probably really expensive.
I think it will be.
Believe that Paper Mario has been available officially on like Nintendo's virtual consoles at different points. I don't know about Thousand Year Door though. So that might be hard to track down unless you're willing to go the emulation route.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Shall we say what we're going to be doing next time?
I think we should. Yeah.
All right. So
I guess I'll introduce it since it's going to be my game this time. Yeah. So this time, we're playing a game that I have already played a long time ago, and it used to be my all-time favorite game. And then later, I decided to let some other things take over it because my preference for gameplay changed a little bit. But it's definitely one of the best games out there. Mel has never played it. It's called Xenogears.
Oh, baby.
This is a huge deal for Mel because he doesn't play Xenoblade, but you played all of Xenosaga episodes, right? All 3 of them. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Me too. But he has never played Xenoblade. Gears. Sorry, which is a huge deal. So
yeah.
Just to get you in the correct state of mind to enjoy this game, get ready to read a hell of a lot of slow ass moving text.
Oh boy.
It's like that forever.
I'm gonna have to put myself in that mindset, which is true, but I know I have the propensity to be in that mindset because when I guess it just depends on the type of game it is, if it's like in my sort of mode or not. And I'm assuming this will probably be because the Xenosaga games, whatever lore, as ridiculous as it was, I just absorbed all of it. Like the original game and the 3rd game had those compendiums or whatever they were.
Right.
I read all that shit.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Yeah, there are some direct... Did you know that this was actually... that the Xenosaga was supposed to be 5 or 6 episodes long? Did you know that?
Yes.
Yes. Did you know that the 5th episode was supposed to be a remake of Xenogears?
I don't think I remembered that, but that sounds familiar. I thought so Xenogears takes place after.
After what? Sorry. After Xenosaga?
Yes. If the 5th episode was supposed to be a remake of it, then right?
Right. But I mean, yeah, but it should have built up to right. So the thing is they squeezed a whole bunch of stuff from Xenogears into Xenosaga. So there're going to be a few things that actually.
I've kind of figured, yeah. I wasn't sure where the overlaps were going to be. But I thought, not knowing anything about Xenogears' story, that it was before Xenosaga. But I guess that's not true.
No. I think time-wise, episode 1 should have started... I guess it's supposed to be slightly unrelated because they separated from Square Enix and became Monolith Soft.
Right.
And then they made Xenosaga. And even though it's supposed to be like, on episode 5 is supposed to be Xenogears all over again, they couldn't call it Xenogears. And
right.
I mean, it's weird. They can't call it Xenogears. It has to be something different, but... like, there are things that are just obviously straight up right from the game in any of the episodes of Xenosaga. So, like, maybe they were just going to go for it. Like, you will notice the name Uzuki in this game, for example.
Right.
Without giving anything away. It's like, it's the same person. Like, what? Can you do that?
I think I heard because, obviously having known the Xenosaga games, I've read up about those games and I've heard about some of those connections, but just I don't know the details on any of them. So that's where I'm at. We did actually attempt this a little while back, so I played maybe the opening 3-ish hours or so.
Okay.
And the emulator at the time kept crapping out. I'm pretty sure I fixed that issue at this point.
Okay.
So this will be a go around. This may be the second time we're introducing this playthrough.
It is, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so we'll give it a go. I'm pretty sure we're good. And then I think, I don't know, you want to talk a little later down the pipeline as to what we're planning?
Yeah, we can do that. So we're going to have that. And depending on how long we take to do that, this is a 60-hour game, Mel. So
yeah, right.
Depending on how long we take to do that, if we can finish it within 2 months, then I say we go ahead and maybe play another game. If we do, that will be Shadow Hearts from the New World. Is that the right name? Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I've never played it. Mel played it back in the day. It's a PS2 game. I think I can get it running.
All right. We'll give that a shot. And then just as a general, like, sort of programming note, we're going to start sort of turning more toward the games that each of us want each other to play, like, for real. And we're kind of trying to, like, crank the volume up a little on some of
our top tier games.
We're trying to reach a little higher up the shelf because we've been doing this for
a
little while now.
Yeah, maybe 3 years, something like that.
Time flies. And then eventually, and this is just kind of, I guess maybe mostly in my head, what I'm thinking is I want to get us to a point where we start talking about games we both have played before, which we've done a little bit of.
There aren't that many though, right?
No, but I think we'll get out of those even more dialogue where we're both very familiar and interested in the game in question, and that's going to lead to a very different type of discussion, I think. So,
yeah, you're probably right.
So those are some things that are in the planning and the offing, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, we could just tell you guys straight up now. Mel has 3 more games to play, and I have 3 more games to play, and then we're done with the format where one person played it and loved it, and the other person is playing it for the first time.
Yeah, because there were only so many of those games that
in the world
we could possibly do. And then we're going to pivot to our games that we both have played and both know well, that we would have probably very different things to discuss. I'm sure a lot of it would be similar. And that's going to be a different line of discussion. It's probably going to be a slightly different format, maybe not, but it'll probably be a very different sort of different discussion. And we have a few of those queued up as well. So
yep. But before we finally get to the end of all this, on October 27th, the Game of Games comes out.
Oh boy.
Star Ocean 6 comes out, and I have to play it day one. Mel says he'll check it out and play it with me, and if he ends up hating it, then we'll make a quick episode about why he hated it. it'll very quickly after it comes out, and if he likes it enough to play to the end, then you'll get a normal episode from us. But it'll be a game that it will be a game that neither of us have played because it's just coming out for the first time.
Brand new. Yeah, it's brand new. It looks good. It looks promising. I hope I don't hate it. You know, it might not be a game quite for me, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It looks good.
I don't know what it's going to be for sure either. Right? I could hate it too for all I know.
Right, exactly. It's not even that yet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, those are some of our plans. If you like the show, tell a friend, say so somewhere, whatever, recommend it to whoever you think would like a sort of long-form podcast discussion about mostly turn-based games, but not always, mostly role-playing games and mostly Japanese role-playing games. And we're here on YouTube, if that's probably where you're listening. We're on most podcast platforms under the same name, Turn-Based Memories. And that leads me to thank my co-host, Zoltan.
Thank you, Mel.
And thank you all for listening. Have a lovely day.
Good night.